go, 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 go!
Deeper.
Friends, Earthers, countrymen, lend me your cords so I may kill them. Our mission is to report the intel from the front lines of the cord-cutting revolution so that you can make a decision about how you best can watch what you want, when you want, where you want, and on what device you want. My name is Tom Merritt.
Hey man, I'm Brian Brushwood, and also that was the teaser that dropped today for a little movie called Tomorrowland. Now, I know what you're saying, Brian. You're saying, oh my God, a movie based on a theme park? What a terrible idea. Did you feel that way about Pirates of the Caribbean? Maybe
Before I
did.
saw it, I did, yeah.
Well, before you did, right? But then it ended up being completely rad,
like,
except for
actually,
the
that
third
wasn't
one,
bad.
which was totally stupid. But the point is, I love the idea of this miscreant, juvenile, delinquent character all of a sudden teleporting to a land with George Clooney saying anything's possible. I was sold the moment I watched it.
You're kind of sold from the moment she touches the thing and gets sent to the cornfield or the wheat field, right? But then...
Well, as the Brits would say, they would call it a cornfield.
Right. My people call it maize. But then you're like, wait a minute, George Clooney's in it too? This is amazing.
I was already in for the 14-year-old. Came for the 14-year-old, stayed for the 50-year-old married guy.
Yeah, no, it really does look amazing. And it's so not set on the theme park, right? Like, this is like, we took the sort of general idea of things in tomorrow and we made a great movie around it.
And that's exactly what they did with Pirates of the Caribbean, right?
Yeah,
is that it was a dumb ride. You went around and some animatronic assholes pantomimed rape of a woman, and then you bought
I'd never been there, so I
wait.
didn't
You've never gone to Pirates of the Caribbean?
No.
Okay. You've seen Futurama. You know whalers on the moon.
No, I get the idea. Yeah.
Right, whalers on the moon, but it's about actual rape and crime in the 1600s. That's Pirates of the Caribbean. And then you're like, what about this makes a good movie? And it turns out what makes a good movie is Johnny Depp. And likewise, same thing here. I won't be surprised if what makes a great movie is George Clooney.
Well, thank you to our bosses for understanding that we had to record the show a little later this week. We are chock full of amazing content, but we will not miss a beat this coming Monday. We will be back on our regular schedule, and we will bring you the cord-killing information you want, starting, as always, with our primary target.
Yeah.
So this was middle of last week when the Weinstein Company and Netflix announced that why do I always want to put a T at the end? Netflix announced that they will produce Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, The Green Legend, a sequel to Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. It will arrive on Netflix the same day it arrives in select IMAX theaters, and that date's going to be August 28th, 2015. Now, you say select IMAX theaters, that's amazing. How's it going to be on Netflix and in IMAX at the same time? Mostly it's not. The theater owners very quickly said, we aren't going to show that movie. Regal, AMC, Carmike, Cinemark, Cineplex, Cineworld have all stated they do not plan to screen Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, The Green Legend on their IMAX screens. Apparently IMAX says it has screens in China that it will show this movie on, which is probably okay with those theaters because Netflix doesn't exist in China.
I know there are other aspects of this story, and we'll talk about the whole story as we get through it. But let me say this far, that I believe this is a huge, huge mistake on the part of movie theaters, in that what they're doing is they are the underlying narrative is that we are only useful, we are only profitable, we are only beneficial in a world where artificial windowing makes us relevant. They are essentially saying that by saying we won't participate, not because it's not high quality. It's obviously the highest quality animation that you're going to be able to get. And I say animation, I mean, it's obviously photography or whatever. But I mean, like, IMAX is the highest level presentation you can get at the theater. And yet they're saying it has nothing to do with the quality, has nothing to do with the prominence. Essentially, they back themselves into a corner. I mean, explain to me in what world they're not just saying, we deserve... I mean, I'm sorry. It sounds like union labor.
The rational response that the theaters could be having is we literally believe that the number of people who will show up and see this in IMAX theaters because it's available on Netflix, will not be large enough to justify the expense of carrying the movie. Remember, movies generally run, from what I've heard, about break even for theaters, and they make their cash off of the snacks. And
they're all restaurants and snack bars, right?
So they're saying we just don't estimate enough people are going to come in the door to make this worth the money, so we're not going to do it. Now, that's the rational response that I'm pretending they're having. My guess is they haven't really run those numbers or made those estimates. It's more of a gut reaction of like, well, screw you. If people can go watch it on Netflix, they're obviously not going to come in the theater. And so we're not going to carry that. We're going to hold the line. And I think what's really going down here is the Weinsteins just decided to call the theater owners bluff. There have been several other attempts at day and date releases. Some of them were like Steven Soderbergh's art house picture that went into the art houses, and that was what it was going to do anyway. Others backed down at the last minute and said, okay, we won't do day and date. We'll put it in the theaters first. Well, this is the first time that you've got a very important Hollywood agency on the side of Netflix saying, all right, don't carry it.
The closest thing to this level of mainstream theatrical release would be like, what was it, Tower Heist, where they were charging $60 for
they
the
were
privilege.
going to, and they backed off.
Right, of watching at home. However, on the flip side, you have, and I guess it's an, I'm going to use the word art house film, but keep in mind, I'm talking about a movie starring Captain America, Chris Evans. Snowpiercer was the first movie to ever have a screener sent on the mainstream DVD release to the Academy. You know, it's what. And again, Snowpiercer, by what standards do you judge it as a success or a failure? I would say that, you know, it's certainly a success in that it was profitable. But the reason it was profitable because they didn't light $30 million on fire buying a bunch of bus ads. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's
and I think Snowpiercer had a much smaller potential revenue than Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. On the other hand, why wasn't the sequel made before? Maybe nobody thought that they could get the money out of theaters. So this may be a little bit of a safer bet than it looks to say like, well, Netflix is just going to pay all the money, really. So we'll put it in as many IMAX theaters as we can. Because we want to make money off of it elsewhere where it's not a big deal.
I agree 100%. Keep in mind that, you know, with the benefit of hindsight, you know, 14 years later, we're able to look back at Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon and be all like, well, of course, it's a majestic, amazing piece that led to the train wreck that was Ang Lee's The Hulk. But at the time, it was an artifact from Mars that just happened to land in America, and somebody decided to try out, and it happened to resonate, you know? And in that regard, I think that it's not like its brand is and was so strong that it was obvious that it's going to make a mint to have a sequel. So it makes sense. It's a base hit. And in fact, that actually leads into the second half of this story about Netflix's other deal.
Well, yeah, exactly. Although odd thing that you just made me realize there, first movie Eileen and I ever saw together was Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. We got married on Treasure Island where they shot Ang Lee's Incredible Hulk.
Oh, wow, that went sideways. When you said Treasure Island, I thought you were going to go into
yeah, right. Yeah. No, not the Vegas one. Anyway, Adam Sandler will produce and star in 4 films for Netflix. His Happy Madison Productions will just release them on Netflix. Sandler's films are among the most popular on Netflix. The first one could happen as soon as 2015, they think. And here's what I think lends some light from this story onto the Crouching Tiger story. Adam Sandler's doing this because he hasn't been making a lot of money in the theaters, but he's been making money, right? He's been making money off of wider releases, off product placement, and other things.
Well,
Netflix
and
is willing to come in with a
ideas
check
too.
and say, look, we'll guarantee the money. Forget about what, worrying about the box office. We'll pay you this amount of money to make these movies because we know Adam Sandler movies are popular with the Netflix audience. So it's perfect for Netflix. It's perfect for Adam Sandler. He's got a guaranteed check. He's free to make the movies the way he wants to. He can put product placement in there. And I think that's actually what's going on with Crouching Tiger is Netflix is saying, yeah, we'll pay this much, make the movie that you couldn't get distribution for before. And the Weinsteins are like, yeah, and on top of that, we'll release it in IMAX theaters where we can, because that's just more money. Why wouldn't we?
So here's the weird sideways aspect to this whole thing, and this will be the only time in my life that I've compared, Ang Lee to Adam Sandler. Adam Sandler makes money, and he makes money because he does things like sell anti-Apple parts of the script to Sony. Hey, take a dump on Apple on this part, and we'll pay you $1 million, or whatever. Like, this guy knows what he's doing. Why would a guy who does adequate numbers at the box office, who makes a mint from every box office release, why would he accept a deal from Netflix? Netflix. I love it. I'm going to just title of the episode. Just throw that in there right now. Netflix. The answer I suspect is right now Netflix has somehow made it cool to not release their numbers. They're able to give this air of pride and success around shows like Orange is the New Black, House of Cards, and all of this stuff without ever saying how many people are watching. Who would that attract? That would attract an indie art house film that somehow made itself a surprise success in America outside of its market, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and feels a pressure to follow that up. It would also attract somebody who is well regarded for his original work in the Saturday Night Live days and in the early 90s or whatever, but has seen decreasing returns as far as the hard numbers of number of people who go to, as far as box office draw goes with Adam Sandler. In other words, all of a sudden, everybody wants to hide behind the Netflix curtain. I think that this is a highly attractive place if you're somebody who does well, draws enough, but is tired of the, the circus surrounding every theatrical release. Like if I'm Kevin Smith's recent movie Tusk was an adorably bizarre premise that they decided to mass market and was an absolute unmitigated financial disaster. Like $600,000 it made on opening weekend or whatever. If I'm Kevin Smith, I just want to hide behind the Netflix curtain as fast as I can.
I'm not going to deny that that's probably a factor that people think about, like, oh, and it'll be nice not to have to worry about, putting out a press release, spinning the numbers. But I don't think that's the main factor. The main factor is money. The main factor, if I'm Adam Sandler, is so you'll just write me the check. And I don't have to wait and see how it does in the box office and hope and go and promote and advertise and put out bus boards. You'll just write me the check. And I make the movie, sold. I don't care about numbers at all. I don't care about hiding behind anything. I just got all the money, like, without having to bother marketing it. And Netflix doesn't care, because Netflix is like, we're doing this because we know people are in there typing Adam Sandler into the search box. So if we give them more Adam Sandler, they're going to be happier and they're going to keep their subscription going longer.
I didn't even think about that. So you're saying that that this entire thing is driven like algorithm based, like they just look and like by the numbers.
Oh, yeah.
These are the names that we need more movies filled with.
That's what they've been doing with the TV shows, and it looks like that's what they're doing with movies now. I don't know that Crouching Tiger particularly has a huge following, but I would bet you that Netflix is looking at data on similar types of movies and going, oh yeah, we have a nice significant audience here. That's great. Let's bring this one in. And that's what Netflix can do that the theater distribution system can't. The theater distribution system always has to have a blockbuster unless it's an art house film, right? So either the budget has to be really low or it has to be a blockbuster, which is why you're seeing comic book movie after comic book movie in the theaters. What Netflix could do is say, really all we care about is loyalty. So what do you want, 80 million to make a movie, Adam Sandler? Great, here you go.
But again, like this is the kind of thing, like in traditional mainstream releases, there are two numbers that are very, very public. There's the production budget, there's the opening weekend, right? And those are all on Front Street and they're all out there. And if you're somebody like Adam Sandler who's seeing the declining returns, I cannot. There's something about the privacy of the Netflix ecosystem. If you're an art creator,
I just don't think that's a primary reason. I think that's kind of a nice, happy side effect. But I think the primary reason, because the reason that number is so important is it's the number that's paying for the budget, right? And if all of a sudden the budget is the money you make, there's no difference. That's That's
but that's the problem. This is the kind of thing you hear Kevin Smith go on a 30-minute screed on his podcast about, is that the production budget, using air quotes for the audio listeners, is oftentimes, $20 million for the movie itself and then $60 million of promotion. And somehow they're able to write down that Lord of the Rings lost money or whatever. Like, this is the kind of thing you get out of all of that when you step behind the Netflix curtains. That's what I'm trying to say, is it's not just the numbers. It's the escape from the entire thing. The system. Yes. No. And now we are in agreement. I think that's what it is. I think that the appeal is there are very few people I've heard speak candidly that seem to love the Hollywood mainstream release system, right? Yeah. No. And this is a chance to opt out of all of the negative aspects of it, all of the compromise, all of the BS across the board. I would guess that a Kevin Fincher, I'm not saying I know what Kevin Fincher says in his private life, but I would guess that at a party or at a meeting. David Fincher? David Fincher, not Kevin Fincher. Dude, hold on. I like the idea of Kevin Fincher. Kevin Fincher is David's brother. Kevin Fincher is just like, my brother made Fight Club. You know what my brother David says? David Fincher. Sorry about that. Sorry, David Fincher. David Fincher is probably telling people like, the great thing about House of Cards was, Netflix just wrote the check and then we were free to go wherever we wanted with the story and we weren't bounded by this and that. And there's got to be some directors out there, including the Adam Sandlers of the world, going, wow, I wish I could make a movie in that way. And now we're seeing that you can. And this is interesting because it's Netflix not sitting on its laurels and saying, we're going to be the HBO, right? Not that HBO doesn't also make movies, but this is them trying to leap ahead and say, we're going to make movies. We're going to make big movies. We're going to make big star movies. We're not going to limit ourselves by what TV can do. We're going to just look at what our audience wants and try to spend money making that. It's really astonishing. And again, I know that the cheap pop is, I haven't liked the last 8 Adam Sandler movies. Therefore, something bad Adam Sandler movies. They're not making these for you. Well, yes, exactly, right? I mean, there's nothing about this that independent filmmakers should be excited about this. Mainstream filmmakers should be excited about this. Consumers should be excited about this. This is all about tearing away a monopolistic power structure and making something that works for everyone. It reminds me of when Italian sculptor Alfredo Fioravanti marched into the U.S. consulate in Rome and confessed he was part of the team that forged the Etruscan terracotta warriors in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Tom, look, I know you're prone to make up a lot of stuff on the fly. The only way I'll believe you is if you tell me what year that happened in. I'll go better than that. I'll give you a date. January 5th. January 5th? Was 1961. 1961? Wait a minute, that was just 50 years. Hold on, that's almost in the year 2000. Wait, hold on, I'm going to do some research. Clickety-clackety, clickety-clackety. Take your time. I just looked at patreon.com/Cordkillers, and it looks like 1961 is the exact number of bosses we have at our independently funded platform. It's a terracotta warrior troop of bosses. Yeah, man. By the way, keep in mind that the only reason that Cordkillers exists is because we have people supporting independent, I'm going to use air quotes as I say news because I'm on it, therefore it can't be actual journalism. You're on it, which means it's awesome, but I'll also, unfortunately, I'm like the cancer attached to this. That is so not true. Stop underselling yourself. We provide commentary on the cord-killing landscape. Sure. That's fair enough. And if you get value out of it, and you're willing to give a little value back, we keep making it, and then everybody wins. Yeah, man, we're creeping up on 2,000. I'm so excited. If you enjoy what we do, guess what? How much do you think it costs to join that club of patrons per year? Per year. It sounds pretty exclusive. It must be like thousands of dollars, Brian. How about nothing? How about here's what you do is sign up and donate 1 penny per episode. Spoiler alert. You have to get up above a single dollar before they actually charge you. So
You could like pledge for 100 episodes before you ever got charged.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Look, man, we live in the age of the middle class and even the lower class patron. You get to be our boss if you just throw us a penny or a nickel an episode. I like a nickel. That's like $1 a year, which seems fair to me, give or take.
Yeah, once a year, $1 comes out of your pocket.
Yeah, exactly. If you saw us on the street, if you give us $1.
Be honest with yourself. You've laundered more money than that. And I mean literally like had it in the wash.
Yes, exactly. So head on over to patreon.com/Cordkillers. And why don't you join the club? One of the benefits is, of course, you get first word on any ideas we have. We listen to you directly. You also get the sweet, sweet pleasure of calling us your boss.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Spoiler in time a couple days before everybody else.
Boom, boom. Patreon.com/Cordkillers. Thanks, gang.
Signals Intelligence is next.
It was smooth, Tom. That was well done.
Thank you. All right, so we got a couple of different stories here, but I think there's a connection between them. First of all, there's an Ars Technica story that an Oklahoma company, a very small company called BTC Broadband, has dropped TV service. You know, bundling has been all the rage. We'll sell you internet, phone, television. They're like, we can't do TV anymore. So all 420 subscribers gone because of the expense of carrying the television content. They said if we kept paying what we had to pay, our bills would rise from $60 to $130 a month. They could join up with other small cable companies in the National Cable Television Cooperative to negotiate their fees. That organization exists to help small cable companies out. But even the NCTC says to the Wall Street Journal, small companies representing about 53,000 customers have shut off cable TV services or gone out of business since 2008.
So there's two aspects to this. First of all, let's talk about the practical aspect. And anybody like the big gaping hole in this story is the fact that we're talking about a service that serves 420 people.
Sure. No. And that's not a gaping hole. It's sort of you have to look at this as a representative sample of small broadband. We're not trying to say this is a rash of cable television going out of business. But what I'm saying is this is an indication that the system only favors aggregation, oligopoly, and monopoly. And the reason I say that is the other story that I think relates to this. Comcast is developing an X1 service. It's now in 8 cities that is a hair's breadth from being an internet-only cable.
What's the difference? I mean,
what they do now is they allow you have one box that is connected to one television in your home. And then you're able to get your full TV lineup on any connected screen in the home. You can use it on a laptop. You can do it on a tablet. You can do it on your phone. They have apps for everything. So you really only need that one TV connected. Everything else, every other screen in your home can now get that same programming. And they have a cloud DVR, so you don't even have to have a DVR in your home, where you can download your recorded shows to your gadgets and watch them when you don't have a connection. So if you're like, oh, I need to catch up on this show, you can download those shows to your tablet, watch it on the plane without the internet.
You, my friend, just short-circuited my whole complaint about this, because the first thing I was going to say is, I bet this is all Wi-Fi based, and I bet you can't access it remotely.
You can't access it remotely, but you can download your recorded shows. So it's kind of a dance, right?
Yeah.
It's like, well, I can't stream it outside the house, but I can download my recorded stuff. So, and you can only watch it on one device at a time. So if I've downloaded the DVR recording of Doctor Who, and you are in my household and want to watch it, I have to check it back in and give up my right to watch it offline for you to be able to download it and watch it.
Man, it's the uncanny valley of Cordkillers, right? I mean, it's almost what you want, almost on whatever device you want, almost whenever you want.
It's almost everything you want, almost where you want. Yes. Almost anytime you want.
Almost on whatever device you want.
Almost every device you want.
Right. And then there's the little, like, you got to sign the contract, and then at the bottom it says ... but not really.
Yeah. Well, and so here's the thing, right? On the one hand, we have Comcast, who wants to buy Time Warner Cable. And they're saying, look, we're doing it. We're giving you X1. This is pretty much what you all have been clamoring for. We have the power to do that. We're not bothered by paying those high ESPN fees because we're so big. And if you'll give us Time Warner Cable, we'll be even bigger and we'll have even more leverage to negotiate with these content providers. And then you have competition dying in the form of the BTC broadbands of the world who are like, yeah, you can't start a cable company television service right now and compete. It's impossible.
Can I point out, kind of on a meta level, have you noticed how increasingly few of our stories, and I don't think this is an editorial decision, I think this is actual sea change that we're seeing. Have you noticed how less and less relevant piracy has become to our conversation on this show? Like the fact that stuff like this exists, or maybe you do think it's editorial.
Well, it used to be like they won't allow you to download it and watch it on your device because piracy, right? But that was always a bit of a red herring. Like, I don't think they're less concerned about piracy, but the PR people don't have to trot it out as an excuse for why they're dragging their heels on stuff anymore.
Yeah. Look, again, as always, I mean, you've heard me say it before. I'll say it again. Baby steps, people. This is a step in the right direction. It's not exactly what we want, but it's closer than we've ever come. Would you have thought, and this is the other thing that's amazing about the cord-cutting revolution, is 3 years ago when we were doing a previous incarnation of the show, would you have believed anybody would be offering this service within the next 3 years?
It is the pressure of the Netflix, even the Hulu Pluses, Amazon Prime Instant of the world that have caused Comcast to be able to have the leverage to say, you really got to let us make this available on devices, right? So in that way, what's been happening is a good thing. It's put pressure on and it's changed things, and that's great. That's the positive aspect of this story, and it is a positive aspect. What concerns me is, you're now giving all the power to Comcast, at least here in the United States, right? And this BTC broadband, it only affects 420 subscribers, but that's how you start. If you had a competitive marketplace, you should be seeing small companies like this saying, hey, we've come up with a new way. We're actually going internet only, and it saved us so much money, we can double our subscribers, and we can provide service to anybody in the country, not just people in Oklahoma. But that's not what you're seeing. You're seeing there is an iron fist. There are two iron fists, one of content, one of Comcast, controlling this marketplace and squeezing everyone else out.
I just feel I want to see this guy be like, see these? I call this guy Comcast and Iron Fist. You know, what was the other one?
Comcast and content.
There you go.
All right, let's gear up.
You got it, boss.
Positive. So the reason all that other stuff changes is because you folks are out there watching stuff on devices. And we got two different reports on what the popular devices are. One is a Parks Associates survey of 10,000 heads of household in broadband households. It's a household that gets fast internet. And they found out that 44% of those surveyed used a game console the most as their internet-connected device. They weren't particularly talking about video, but they do say that video was one of the most popular reasons people did connect to the internet. Smart TVs were number 2. A streaming media player and a DVR were tied for number 3. So Roku's, Apple TVs, and all that were in there as well. And that was 12% for the streaming media players. And the DVR also had 12%, followed by Blu-ray player. And then the Chromecast, which wasn't included in the streaming media players for some reason. It was broken out as its own. But the Chromecast gets to lead in app usage. App Annie does analytics on how people use apps on smartphones and tablets, and they found that the app associated the most with a connected device is the Chromecast, number 1, followed by the Fitbit, followed by DirecTV, followed by HP ePrint. So the Chromecast is actually more popular than a fitness tracker, a satellite television company's app, and a printer app.
All right, let's parse this out. Let's go in two places. First of all, let's talk about the prevalence of game consoles. That sounds right to me. To be honest, the big part of this story that surprises me is the number of smart TVs connected, because I've always regarded that as the kind of feature that the Best Buy guy tells you is a big deal and then nobody uses. But the fact that, what was it, 20%? Is that right? Throw it on the screen. 20% smart TVs is astonishing. I have to eat crow. I would have bet you $100 a year ago that it would not have been that big.
which one is used the most too, right? So this isn't just, oh yeah, I plugged the Ethernet cable in. It is like, yeah, and I actually use it. My guess is, and Blu-ray player is in there as well. My guess is that's Netflix.
Yeah,
That's
well,
people
and
going,
smart TV bigger than Blu-ray player. Think about like 5 years ago, Blu-rays was obviously the future. That's remember when we had format wars? How dumb does that sound now?
Yeah, and the Blu-ray player isn't for playing Blu-rays. That we don't know whether they're playing Blu-rays or not. They're saying, what do you use most for your internet-connected device? And they're not asking about browsing, right? So we're not talking about laptops and desktops. They're saying of these other devices, and people are using the Blu-ray player to connect, which, again, Netflix.
So
that's what all of these are. Netflix and maybe Hulu. All of these devices have those two apps.
One of my favorite crackpot theories from 7 years ago was that, remember in the format wars, it was Blu-ray versus HD DVD, and it was a bit of a surprise that that Xbox went with HD DVD with a full-on add-on that you plugged in through the USB port. And there was somebody who suggested Microsoft is not taking the side of HD DVD. They do not think HD DVD wins. Their goal is to run the clock out so that they can jump over to streaming. And I gotta say, according to this freaking, according to this HD DVD copy of Hong Kong that I'm seeing you stroke right now, I gotta say, based on this pie chart, that's looking incredibly plausible now. And it's looking incredibly smart. And it looks like if that was Microsoft's plan, seems to have worked.
Yeah, when Molly Wood and I were doing Buzz Out Loud, we thought Blu-ray wouldn't win, that they would win a Pyrrhic victory and streaming would beat them. Blu-ray kind of won more than we thought, and it took longer for streaming to overcome it. And it certainly isn't dead. Blu-ray is still viable, and they sell a lot of Blu-rays, but streaming is definitely the more popular way of consuming video.
Well, and we've talked about this before, right? The cliche is convenience trumps fidelity, right?
Yeah.
Blu-ray is a high fidelity experience. Streaming is a low fidelity but extraordinarily convenient service. And again,
exactly. And we're not arguing that Blu-ray isn't the better delivery method still for high resolution video, but most people don't care because the Netflix HD is close enough for them.
Yep. Nope.
That makes a lot of people in the audience sad right now.
100%.
So what do you think about this Chromecast? I was surprised to see that Chromecast is this is usage, right? Is more popular than printing? More popular than like DirecTV is the most downloaded app?
Well, first of all, is it printing or is it a printer?
HPE print is cloud printing. So it allows you to take like your Evernote stuff and then send it to your HP printer.
That's a little bit sideways, right? Because that's only a set division. Obviously, more people are printing than that. The trick here is that Chromecast has been open from the beginning. They've encouraged hacking, and they've been a platform institution. Essentially, like there are a billion different ways to print anything. There are services you go through your desktop and whatever. But like Chromecast has, number one, priced themselves cheaper than an iPhone case. And let me reiterate this part.
Right.
They are cheaper than an iPhone case. Once your Chromecasting device is that cheap, you put yourself in a different category, and it makes sense that they would capture that much market share.
Cheaper than an iPhone case. That's just insane. Wait a minute. I'm looking at iPhone accessories. I'm looking at cases, and an iPhone 6 leather case is $45.
That's what I'm saying.
A silicone case is $35. It's on parity if you want a silicone case.
That's what I'm saying, right? It's like what's funny is like you don't normally sound stoned, but you did just then and I was like, what's going on? And I realized that of course you were vetting my assertions. So well done, sir.
I was talking through my surfing there. So yeah, Chromecast is, maybe, and I said it's usage. I should rephrase that. It's downloads. It's people took the time to download the Chromecast app, which if they bought a Chromecast would be the first thing they would do. We don't know if they're continuing to use it, but it's being used as the most used connected device in a few percent of this other survey. So it's definitely making a difference. Making a difference is what scam stuff is all about, right, Brian?
Hey, you know how usually we take turns? Like, keep in mind, there are multiple ways to support what we do. We're a small independent podcast. We're a couple of guys who are very passionate about what we want to talk about, and we appreciate the direct support that our patrons give us. However, there's other ways to support us. You could, of course, buy Tom Merritt's books. You could support Sword and Laser. We run a little business out of our garage called Scam Stuff, and I've been coy for a couple of months because we've been working on our first major release. Do me a favor, Zach, cue up some footage of this. Go ahead and just play some of that B-roll on there. We have just released the Rogues wallet. This is a magic wallet. First of all, it's high quality, well produced leather that has an original logo on the outside. On the inside, it has don't show me, show the wallet. What are you doing? Just get away from my face. Show something besides my
Brian's
face.
face is not leathery enough.
Yes, exactly. And so the point is that we have original designs on the outside. On the inside are 20 glyphs that remind you of all the best money-related effects that we've ever taught on Scam School. But more importantly, there are 5 unique mechanisms built into this wallet. There's a peek mechanism that allows you to cheat and see stuff that you're not allowed to see. There's a substitution. You could transform ones into hundreds, and this does not require any skill. If you have a bit of skill, if you know how to palm a card or whatever, it's got a card to wallet system. This thing is legitimately the best thing we've ever done. Whether you're a dabbler in Magic, whether you're somebody who just loves high-end wallets, it's about time to get a new wallet. Head on over, check out the Rogues wallet at scamstuff.com.
If you can't steal one, folks, go to scamstuff.com and buy one.
Or steal one. I mean, good luck.
I'm saying if you can.
Yeah.
It's time now for the front lines. These are the front lines.
They're the lines at the front, Tom.
Yeah. These are other stories that we found of interest today. I'll kick us off. Redbox Instant finally shut down. We kind of knew it was coming. October 7th was its last day in existence. Information on applicable refunds will be emailed to the current customer and posted on October 10th. Verizon looks like they may be pursuing a TV over LTE service, which may or may not be in the same as their on-queue service that we know might be coming next year as well. But Redbox Instant, I think we can fairly say, was a failure.
Yes. Okay. There are 2 things that you could say simultaneously. One, the service was a joke. It was an obvious cash grab in an attempt to follow up in the success of Netflix. However, the marketplace is not better for its having been out of the game. Like, more competition would be better, and I'm sad about that.
I'm going to take a small extension and argue that its failure is good for the marketplace, not because it failed. Because it failed, because it showed you can't do it this way. Like, failures are just as important as successes in the marketplace. So yeah, I agree with you that having one fewer competitor isn't good, but I also think that it's important to have failures in a competitive marketplace. Not everything should always succeed. So the fact that it's like, oh, okay, we saw what Redbox and Verizon tried to do with Redbox Instant, we're not going to make those mistakes, is a positive.
You know what? That's well done. I don't know if we can reset the clock or not, but I'm going to go on and say...
Can't turn back the clock.
That the New York Post says that Hulu CEO Mike Hopkins is considering reducing the ad load on Hulu's paid subscription tier. The Post says that executives would cheer the move as too many ads frustrates...
Ad executives particularly would cheer them.
Frustrates users and makes ads less effective, of course. Hulu has been showing users more than 80 ads per month compared to 32 on YouTube. Here's the problem, man. I can't tell the difference between one ad and a billion ads. I just know which services show me ads and which don't.
Yeah, but I bet you there are enough people that do. And I will give them credit. And I don't love the way Hulu does its business between Hulu Plus and Hulu. I love the Hulu service. I just don't like I pay for what? This would be clearer to me. Like, all right, you've got ads on the paid version, but there are fewer ads. Legit. I'm okay with that.
All right. Fair enough. Baby steps.
Stick revealed its first Firefox OS-based streaming stick. It lets you fling video, websites, and other content from Firefox, Chrome, and other supporting apps. Does straight-on mirroring. It's completely open. It's an open platform. It's compatible with the Chromecast API, so a lot of Chromecast apps can just work by pressing the Chromecast button. It'll go to the matchstick, and they've got a Kickstarter for it right now, and it will sell this February to everyone for $25. 25, Brian.
I mean, is there a price war? Is that what's keeping people from getting the Chromecast? And again, this is ironic that I just praised the fact that we had another competitor with Redbox Instant. My guess is that this will be closer and better to a successful product than Redbox Instant was, but also I don't know. That's a crowded space at the bottom, which I guess is good. Question mark?
Well, I mean, there's a Roku dongle. Like there's a dongle war.
Dongle War! All right. Lifehacker has an in-house developer now. They put out a Chrome expansion called Flix Plus. It adds new features and tweaks to Netflix.com, letting you filter its recommendations, remove spoilers, use keyboard shortcuts, and more. If this is the one that I'm thinking of, Tom, this is the one where it's like you're able to break down sort of like the ratings and
it'll let you turn on the Rotten Tomatoes ratings and throw them on there. It just gives you a bunch of control over the interface that you wouldn't have in the default Netflix interface.
Right on.
I installed it and was like, this is neat. I wish I watched Netflix on my laptop more often, but I know you do.
Yeah, I do, but I don't know that I'll bother to install it. It's like number one, like we have like I believe, and this is not a joke. I believe we have 7 different computer-like devices in our house that the kids just move around from device to device. So I ain't gonna install it on all of them.
I didn't see super compelling reasons for it, but if you're a power user, I could see it being helpful. Finally, Plex Pass subscribers will be able to pull up their Plex library on their Xbox One and actually soon on the Xbox 360 as well. If you're not a Plex Pass subscriber, you can still get the Plex app on the Xbox. You just have to pay a little money for it. And I know a ton of people in our audience who use Plex, so figured they ought to know.
Look, man, there ain't nothing wrong with paying money. Ain't nothing wrong with not using our full minute on this story. And instead, moving forward to Under Surveillance.
Not like real estate. It's all about location.
Under Surveillance. Oh, my God. Amazon announced something. Amazon actually announced that Transparent, the show with Jeffrey Tambor, is the top-ranked series on Prime Instant Video. Now, you may say, well, whatever. They just released it. Of course it is. No. This is with all the stuff, even the catalog they get from other producers, not the top-ranked Amazon original, top-ranked show on Prime Instant Video. We're used to saying, oh yeah, New Orange is the Black season came out. It was the top one on Netflix. This is the first time Amazon's had a serious hit, and they've approved season 2.
We'll talk about this more as we get into spoiler in time because we're watching it and going through it piece by piece. But what an extraordinary story and what a bold move. It was in every way the move that Amazon Prime needed to make, and or Amazon Instant, as they're calling it now. It's great. It's a great series. If you haven't watched it, it is so unconventional, so well told, so very, very believable in all of its awkward reality beat moments. It's great.
Yeah, and Amazon has gone from like, they have some good originals to they have an amazing original. They are now officially the Showtime to Netflix's HBO, I think, with this move.
Dude, it's been like weeks since I called them the RC Cola of streaming video. So
the owls are not what they seem. A new Twin Peaks series will pick up 25 years after the season finale, as promised by Laura Palmer in the finale, coming to Showtime in 2016. My guess will be in June of 2016 for 9 episodes.
Hold on, real quick. Help me out. I am loath to admit that I have not watched the original Twin Peaks. However, I was a tremendous fan of the soundtrack. I actually had the soundtrack in high school, never watched it. So I feel an association with the vibe of the show, if not the content. I did not know that there was some kind of promise at the end of the finale that something would happen 25 years later. Walk me through this.
In the Black Lodge, Laura Palmer tells Agent Cooper, I will see you in 25 years. And it's the season finale.
Suddenly got way, way better.
And Mark Frost and David Lynch are like doing the long con. They're like, guess what? It's 25 years later. We are going to bring Twin Peaks back. And they're bringing it to Showtime. I think we should do Twin Peaks on Spoiler in Time, like the original run.
Dude, that would be a lot of fun. As somebody who has never seen it before, but is familiar with some of the weird conceits of it, and somebody who obviously you seem to have a deep affection for it, right?
I may or may not have owned Laura Palmer's Secret Diary at one point.
I may or may not have worked at Cinemark Theaters when Fire Walk with Me was in, and never walked in and saw any bit of it. But if you watch this, give a little bit of the audio, just to touch on there.
Oh, the Angelo Badalamenti.
It's a bit of an odd trailer, right? Because all you see, the entire trailer, first of all, it looks kind of low budget, right? It doesn't look well produced. It looks like somebody took some of the old footage, threw some logos on it, played the soundtrack, and then like noise happens at the end that feels extremely low budget. I'm
that's
afraid.
very David Lynch, the noise stuff. Yeah.
Well, I mean, right? A little disjointed. I'm sorry. It's
you got it with that. You back up. We got to watch it.
All right.
Some other things that people should know they can watch too. Mist is getting a TV series. Legendary TV.
Sounded like you said Mist.
Yes,
Mist
the
is that
video game puzzle Mist.
That crappy atrocity that outsold Warcraft for years and years.
Remember,
in the late
folks,
90s.
I didn't say it. Brian said it.
Mist is a terrible game, and it never deserved to be #1 for that long.
I have very fond memories of playing this game in my girlfriend's apartment in Austin while she was working at the Hole in the Wall.
You're talking about The Seventh Guest, right? The Seventh Guest?
Legendary TV and digital media signed a deal with Cyan Worlds, and they're also planning a companion game because they say people use tablets while they watch TV.
You know what? I was annoyed up until you said they're planning a companion game, and then I just wanted to punch someone. I got genuinely
All right, how about
angry.
this? Netflix has signed up executive producer Avi Arad, who produced the Spider-Man, X-Men, and Iron Man movies, to create a King Kong animated series set in 2050 with Kong as mankind's only hope against robot dinosaurs. Full-length film comes in 2016, followed by 12 half-hour episodes.
Swear, dude. King Kong. That was a marketing team breakdown that they weren't able to negotiate Godzilla versus King Kong. It's some kind of team up. Is that we need to go back to those 70s?
I don't know. King Kong versus
60s.
robot dinosaurs in 2050 sounds pretty good to me.
I don't know. I was listening. There's if you've ever heard the podcast, was it? Oh no. I was watching Getting Dug with High. That's what it was. And a very baked Doug Benson says to Jack Black, "Hey man, so you go to this island." Skull Island, and there's King Kong and a bunch of dinosaurs, right? And he was like, yeah. They're like, and you bring King Kong back because he'd be a spectacle. They're like, yeah. And they're like, he's like, wouldn't a dinosaur be a spectacle too? Couldn't you have just grabbed a dinosaur while you're out there?
Dinosaurs are harder to capture.
Apparently not, because King Kong kicked that dinosaur's ass.
Here, I'll just let you borrow my HD DVD of King Kong, and you can judge for yourself.
All right, fair enough.
So I know you were busy traveling, and you watched Fargo and you watched Transparent, and we'll talk about those on Spoiler in Time. Anything else you've been watching?
Yeah, you know what? All the episodes I've been watching have been for a yet unannounced, unreleased full season of a show that hopefully will appear on basic cable. So everybody sign up for cable. Reattach that cord, people.
Wait, what? Huh?
Well, I mean,
what kind of system are you promoting?
Look, I ain't saying promote the system. If it were up to me, you'd be hacking the system. But regardless, you should get cable because I understand that National Geographic has some fine programming, and I may have watched 7 episodes of an upcoming
series. Conflict of interest here.
What? Good thing I'm not a journalist, jerk.
Let's move on. I've been watching Fargo and Transparent as well. We'll talk about that. I watched The Shield. We'll talk about that in Spoiler in Time. Haven, I feel like it's off to a slower start this season, but the latest episode feels like they may have put things back into gear for me. They were dragging a plot point out a little bit too long for my taste, but it still has the same look, feel, and story writing and acting that I like. So I'm still really feel like it's in whole, one of the most underrated shows on television.
So you can hold this off for spoiler in time if you would like, but I noticed that one of the things you mentioned you watched is what everybody's going nuts over is Gotham.
Yeah, I watched the pilot episode of Gotham, which puts me behind.
Believe it or believe the hype or don't.
Here's the thing. Really enjoyed watching it.
A
Thought it was
ringing
clever. Like,
endorsement.
oh, that's how you have Catwoman. That's how you have. And I really like the personality of Commissioner. Well, he's not Commissioner. Yeah, Gordon. I didn't run back to watch episode 2, and that's an involuntary response. I was like, yeah, I can't wait to watch episode 2 at the end of episode 1. And I just haven't done it yet.
I swear, all I want to see is a Photoshop of a poster for Gotham with the pull quote is, Tom Merritt going,
because I have no
Stars.
criticisms of it.
Some number of stars I give to it.
I'm like, stars. How many stars do you give it? I give it stars.
Everybody.
I've also been binging on Once Upon a Time, catching up on that, as I've mentioned before. I have no new things to report other than that it's a great show. It's well locked together. Like if you watch I'm watching it out of order, and I watch earlier episodes and I'm impressed. They're like, oh yeah, that's consistent with what happens later. Good job. But it is also it's fairy tales, and I can do other things while I watch it. So it's not for the folks looking for that next big Breaking Bad sort of hit. Definitely not it.
Man, it really
Agents
is.
of S.H.I.E.L.D. though, kicking ass.
Really?
Good turnaround. Loving the new season.
Well, okay, I'm not going to lie. Up until now, every time I told you that I would get around to watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I've been lying. I had no intention of actually taking the time to watch it. However,
You lie, sir.
However, my 10-year-old, she's going through the Marvel Cinematic Universe. She's up to the Winter Soldier, which obviously ties directly into the show. If you're telling me I could jump in at like episode 6 or whatever of S.H.I.E.L.D. and then dive in, I will. That's the kind of thing, like any excuse for me to quote unquote work and hang out with my daughter, I will do that.
Every time you've lied to me in the past, I've said the same thing, and I'll say it again, which is you can definitely jump in mid-season of the first season, and I feel like you'd be fine. Just make sure you don't miss the crossover episode with Captain America.
This time, I promise you, with my ring finger, it's a ringy promise. Because I don't mess around with the pinky promise. I know you
don't.
I'll ringy
throw that
promise
around
you that I'll watch it.
Finally, on our radar is a movie out in the theaters October 10th called Automata. It's going to be an art house film. It's a future where Earth's ecosystem verges on collapse. Man-made robots roam the city to protect dwindling human life. And when a robot overrides a key protocol put in place to protect human life, ROC Robotics insurance agent Jack Vaquan, Antonio Banderas, is assigned to locate the source of the manipulation and eliminate the threat. And then he discovers other things that have consequences for the future of humanity. But if this sounds similar to a Brad Pitt movie that you saw, it does sound similar, but I don't know if it's going to be better or not. But it's got Antonio Banderas in it.
I don't know. Right. Shall we move on to dispatches from the front?
Sure. If only a Victorian lady would sit down and write these out in calligraphy.
God, there she is. She's writing us. We're talking.
Thank goodness.
Hey, man, Andrew Morris writes us saying, hey, Brian, hey, Tom. Sorry it took so long to become y'all's boss. Thank you, by the way, for being our boss. I've been listening since the beginning of Frame Rate. What's that? Anyway, Brian, I'm a 6th grade science teacher up in Taylor, about 16 miles east of Round Rock,
Go
which
Express.
is practically where I used to live. If you're ever in the area and want some Louis Mueller barbecue, hit me up. I owe you some blah, blah, blah. Real question. You guys have talked about the Netflix problem of not being able to decide what to watch. One solution I've heard is for Netflix to be basically like Pandora. But he says here's a different solution that he doesn't think anyone has suggested before. He says, I don't want a personalized station just for me. I want to watch something I know thousands or millions of other people are watching at the same time. What if Netflix had genre-specific stations that allowed the same thing for everybody at the same time? would be great to tune into Netflix sci-fi, and he paints a delightful fantasy of what it would be like. Thank you, Andy. And first of all, you're not wrong. There's a reason, social scientists call it social proof. The idea that you want to match what everyone else says. It's the reason that Yelp exists, is because we don't want to go to a place and not know if everyone else likes it or not. It's a reason that we have laugh tracks. We want everybody to give us the social cues that let us know that it's okay to laugh at this time. I'd say we already have that, not in a minute-by-minute way, because what we always thought of as live television was a fantasy to begin with. It was never live. We were never experiencing things at the same time. There was always various levels of delays in distribution. But nowadays, we're just aware of it, right? I mean, does that make sense, Tom?
Yeah, but okay, there's a difference between saying, hey, turn on CBS right now. Okay, I will. Boom, we're both watching the same thing. And hey, I'm 22 minutes into this movie. Start your copy and let me know when you fast forward to 22 minutes into the, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
Even with the delay, the shared experience is I can turn on and see roughly the same thing that you are. And I get that. I get that idea. In fact, Xbox has that feature. And I think PS4 might have a similar feature where you can watch a thing with your friends. You can definitely play video games like that. And I think you can do it where you you have to purchase it from the Xbox store, if I'm right. But you can say, let's start it and watch it together. And I think what Andy is saying would be really cool if I could just jump into the Sci-Fi channel and then pop in a chat room and we're all watching the same thing at the same moment. And we didn't have to synchronize anything. There's something to that. I don't know how big the demand is.
Again, here is the problem. The problem is not with the Netflix side of things. Netflix can already provide that benefit. The problem is part of his fantasy, and it's a delightful fantasy, and I share it. I wish that everybody loved exactly what I was watching at the exact same moment that I was watching it. The problem is not Netflix, it's everybody else. You can't. The only way to cause everybody to watch the same thing at the same time at you is to create artificial scarcity. It's that reason, Thriller was not the greatest album of all time. It was a good enough album that came out at the height of constricted, top-down, linear distribution. Where I
don't think that's the only reason people like doing this. I get why this sort of thing was massively popular in the 70s, because guess what? You had 4 channels. That's it.
Exactly.
Right? But I think there's still DiamondClub.tv is this, right? Let's all be in a chat room and watch the same thing at the same time.
I mean, no, but that's just it. Is it's not let's all. It's like let's 12 of us get together at the same time.
That's what I mean when I say all. I'm not. I guess you're comparing it to mass market, and I'm not. I'm just saying what Andy seems to want is the ability to jump in and have a few people to watch a thing with. It doesn't have to be the entire country, right? It doesn't have to be the massively popular thing. It's just having that little sense of community. I think that's what the internet's great for. And somebody could do this anyway. They could send point markers into Netflix and say, start at this. You could definitely do this with YouTube.
Here's the problem is we talked earlier about the benefit of the Netflix curtain, about you're behind this privacy shield and nobody knows how many people, still to this day, we don't know how many people watched House of Cards or whatever. You break that when you do live. When you go into a chat room and
it's
say,
not live. It's just shared.
Right, but simultaneous is what I'm saying. When you go into that chat room, you're like, who else is here? And it's one guy from Des Moines. You're like, this is less popular than I thought it was.
It has no impact on that because Netflix can say yes, but hundreds of millions of people were watching it at a different time. It doesn't impact those numbers at all.
Objectively, you are correct. I would say subjectively, when you go into that chat room and it's you and 3 dudes living in the basements, you may feel differently.
I think that has a very limited effect. But I also think that this appeals to a limited number of people. It's a low priority feature for Netflix because they know that this is not the thing that's going to make people subscribe or stay subscribed to Netflix, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with that.
Louis, our boss, says my Amazon Prime subscription just renewed and was for the first time at the $99 rate. I used Prime for so much the $99 didn't bother me at all, but it got a question in my mind regarding Amazon bundling everything and their dog under the Prime umbrella. If you had to choose just one, Netflix or Amazon Prime, which would it be? To me, although I watch Netflix much more than Amazon Prime right now, the choice would absolutely be Amazon. There's just too much other value to be had there. A question I thought might be interesting.
So I'll tell you this much, man. 6 months ago, it would have been an unambiguous Team Netflix, Amazon. And by the way, they're not even calling it Amazon Prime anymore. It's Amazon Instant, right?
It's Prime Instant Video.
Well, but again, when you look on the site, it just says Amazon Instant. And you're checking.
Amazon Instant is for the stuff that you buy without being a member of Prime.
All right. What's with you always being right? What's with you knowing everything? It's almost as though you're the knowledgeable person, and I'm the one.
I actually know this because someone criticized me for saying it the wrong way last week.
Okay, all right, fine. Regardless, my point is that I would have been Team Netflix all the way, but I'll tell you what, man. Like just renting a couple of things, and this is the thing. Like Netflix does not offer rentals. They don't offer like new rentals, so you have to go outside of Netflix's ecosystem, and that's why I've fallen into the Netflix instant loop because we went outside to watch. I think it was like Edge of Tomorrow was the first rental, and then we started watching other things. We went through the Marvel Cinematic Universe or whatever, and then along the way, my 18-month-old was in the room and pointed and shouted like, "Whoa, boo, boo," and discovers Blue's Clues. So now we're watching Blue's Clues because it's on Instant, not on Netflix. I gotta say, man, I think he's right. I think that at this moment, I would rather choose that ecosystem.
Yeah, like a couple of years ago, I would have said, well, that's like saying I want to choose the Cuban restaurant over the post office. Like they're two different things, right? You buy Amazon Prime, not because they throw in this video thing, but because it gives you free shipping. And that's not what he's pointing out is that has now changed.
Yeah.
You now have Amazon Prime because it gives you free shipping and Amazon Prime Instant Video. And maybe, for some people, the Kindle Lending Library as well. So I think that's what Amazon's counting on is that enough people will say, well, I got to keep it. Even if it's not make a choice, they're going to be like, well, I got to keep it. It gives me all this value. Why wouldn't I? Even though the price went up.
Yeah. All right, man. Let's do this. That was Lewis who sent that to us?
Yep. Or Louis.
We got from Sam. He says, I thought I'd write in and tell you guys what happened to me the other day. My friend sent me a link to a YouTube video the other day, and I decided to Chromecast it to my TV. I turn on the TV, and a pre-roll ad starts playing. And then another. And then another. He says, I was so confused because you usually only get one ad, and then the YouTube video plays. All of a sudden, he realizes his Chromecast hadn't switched the input for him, and his TV was showing over-the-air antenna traditional broadcast television. He said, all right, this is how people used to watch TV. That's from Sam, A Cord Never. He says, by the way, Transparent is one of the best TV shows he's seen all year. Thanks for the recommendation. Thank you, Sam. That's a great story.
All right. I think that's it for us today, but thank you all. You are the best. We love you. We're happy that you find value in the show, whether you give value back as a Patreon or you just tune in regularly and tell folks about us. That is just as valuable for us. Cordkillers.com is the place to go. You can email us, cordkillers@gmail.com, and we're doing it off schedule this week, but usually we're around live at diamondclub.tv on Mondays and also Alpha Geek Radio for audio at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern Time.
Absolutely, man. Quick shout out also to all the fine folks in our chat realm who show up and provide commentary. They are our equivalent of a live studio audience. We thank all of you guys for your appointment viewing. It's adorable. Look at us, man. It's the 1950s. There's a time and a place, and everyone shows up for a thing. Thank you, chat room. You guys are the best people ever. Boom.
We'll see you next time on Cordkillers.
DC till we DIE.